Hey, it's Tim here. In today's video, we're going to be looking at all the new improvements in Ask Data in Tableau 2021.3. There's quite a bit to get through here, so let's get stuck in straight away. Now, the first one is, I don't know if it's just me, but in the previous version of Tableau, let me go to my sample superstore dataset. Maybe I didn't realize it, but it seems that in 21.3, you have to have a lens for Ask Data to work. By default, when you come to a data source, the first thing you see here is a lens. So that got me thinking, what happens when you don't have a lens there? So what I did was I went to another data source. Let me just open this in a new tab so we don't lose our place. And I went to the Explore tab. I found another data source where I didn't have a lens. And I found out that actually Tableau just stopped indexing that data source for Ask Data. So essentially, if I just go to this file here, you'll see that when I get there, I don't have a lens and there is no Ask Data interface. The first thing I have to do is to create a lens. And there is actually a very small notice here on the left-hand side that says, please create a lens so that we can reindex this data source. So that's really interesting to see that change. Maybe it's a hint that essentially Tableau is going to stop indexing everything on your server, which is good for server admins running Tableau Server. If they have this feature, this is going to be a nice way to sort of manage that. But nevertheless, we're here and you can actually see that I've actually got a test lens here just to test this capability out because I wasn't sure about it. So here we are. Now, first thing I'm going to cover is actually this feature that allows you to identify whether Ask Data is using a field or using something you've typed or not. And there's no sort of nice way to say it. So I'll just show you. If I go into my shipping lens, this is something I've created before. So I created this in 2021.2. Check out that video if you get a chance. I'm going to click on this analysis here at the top, sum of days to ship. This will take me into a number that I know is right and have used before. So we get to this point. And now this is where the feature kicks in. Let's say that I start using excessive amounts of language. So let's just say, please order this by region. Okay. And so you'll actually see this sort of panel at the top light up. Okay. So the first thing to notice here says the please is grayed out. Order, it's interpreting this as some sort of dimension. So you can see order date this year, order. So it's sort of interpreting that order as order date, which is not correct here. But it is actually also interpreting this by region and bringing in the region level there. So if I just get rid of this, that's not actually what I want to do. I don't want anything to do with the order date. So let's say arrange by region. Let's try that, arrange by region, and you can see that it figures out what it needs to. And if I go by region and we just select it, you can see that it's now happy with that analysis, and you can see there again that a range is grayed out. So this is actually what the feature is doing. It's telling you that, hey, you typed a bit of English in there, but I'm not using it for this analysis, but it did help me get to sort of where I need to. And then it's bringing in that item in like a dotted box here. That's a really important cue. And what that dotted box means is that it hasn't actually done this analysis yet. What you have to do is you have to hit enter or on your keyboard or hit this little blue button. I'll hit the blue button so you can see me do it. Let's hit submit, and then it draws the chart. And so here we are, we get the chart and we can be happy with it. We can obviously switch to another chart type. Let's use a chart, bar chart, because that's a better way of showing this. And then you have your chart. It's essentially the new feature in a nutshell. Now, the next feature is actually the ability to pin this to the recommended visualizations right from this place. So if I go to this little pin here at the top, I can actually go ahead and click on that. And you can see here, pin to recommended visualizations. Now, I can also replace the visualization that it comes up with. So let's go ahead and pin this to recommended visualizations. Sum of days to ship by region as a bar chart, basic data analysis, and click save. And so let's save that, and we'll save that there. What I'll do is I'll also color this by subcategory. Okay, so I'm going to throw in a touch of color in there, and of course, what is interesting here is to just ignore the phrase color, even though I think that is sort of important. So let's see what it does. Let's just see what it does. Even though I gave it an explicit instruction, it kind of didn't do what I wanted it to do. So that's fine. And we'll just go with this as it were. And what we'll do is we'll leave this here, and we'll actually go back to my shipping lens and go and see the recommended visualization. We'll click on that, then come back in, replace it, then go back again to see this working. So let's go back to my shipping lens, and you'll see the recommended viz that I added should be here. So it gets added to the bottom of the list. And so that's cool. We can see that it's there. You can sort of add and change these groups. If you don't like these groups, you can, of course, change them. You can also go in here and sort of change the naming of this. But that's fine. We'll leave that as is. And you can see that that's there. So now we're going to go in. And when we click on it, what should happen is two things. It should just load the viz straight away because it remembers it from last time. It knows exactly what I chose. So what I can do now is I can say by sub. Let's do it by something different, by segment. That's going to be easier to see on the screen. So let's do by segment. Hit enter. I'm doing it with the mouse so you can see me sort of go through the motions, but you can just hit enter on your keyboard and there you go. And then what I'd like to do is I'd like to replace the recommendation. So now it asks me to replace one. And so it's going to give me a list and it's going to show me those groups. And then I can go in and actually replace the original one that I made. So if I click on this now and hit replace, then you'll get that sort of going back into the sort of database and it remembers this as the visualization. So now let's go back again to the shipping lens and click on the recommendation to see this working. And we should see this sort of working in true earnest. So what we did is we replaced this one. So now what I should see is when I go into this as a bar chart, I should see a bar chart broken down by segment. So let's go ahead and click on that and fingers crossed this has actually worked. And there we go. The recommendation has actually been pinned and it has worked and it's replaced what was there. So that's a really nice addition there. Man, I'm really impressed with the amount of sort of small nuggets they're adding to Ask Data. Just this contextual sort of color basis for dimensions and measures is really, really cool. When you start typing in terms and it sort of uses the same contextual color here to show you sort of what's going on, groupings, different dimensions. And this is getting some really sort of, you know, this is some next level stuff. I really wish some of this interface made it into Tableau. You know, when you're writing a calculation, it would be really nice to have some of this sort of contextual information popping up to give you some assistance. And yeah, it's just a shame it's not going in that direction at the moment. Desktop needs some more love. The calculation window needs more love. But nevertheless, let's troop on with some more features here. The very last thing is when you're creating a lens, Ask Data is going to be showing you tips. Now, I don't know if this is like a cosmetic thing or if it's actually a feature. To me, it's just a little hint, essentially. So the feature is essentially this. You've got this little sort of exclamation mark there. And if you actually click on that, it's called Ask Data Tips. And it gives you some tips on how to set up a data source a little bit better. When you're creating a lens, this also pops up. So if I was to go back to my data set, let's go to sample data store sales, and let's just create a brand new lens. The way I actually do this is select new lens, call it test 21 3 lens, and hit publish lens, put it into the same folder as 2021.2. And there you go, we've got our lens. And now what we can start to do is to customize this lens. So you see the Ask Data tips still there. I thought this would actually appear here somewhere. So this to me is where I thought this would appear. According to the documentation, it appears when you're creating a lens. And so here I am creating a lens, removing a bunch of stuff, hit submit, and it's sort of not popping up and showing me anything. But this is what's in the documentation as the new feature. So that's what it is. You've got a little hint there to show you how to create better data sources. So I'm just looking at my list of features here for Ask Data. That's pretty much it. There's no more to talk about today. It really feels like Tableau is putting a lot more effort into helping not authors build dashboards, but everyday users. Because of course, Ask Data is now available for viewers and explorers, and it feels like this whole push on the Ask Data interface has been to enable them, and that's really important. It's really nice to see sort of Tableau try and bring on board the next sort of big group of users that sort of engage in analytics. So nevertheless, let me know your thoughts in the description below. Be sure to check out tableutim.com. I've got a whole bunch of videos there from the whole 2021.3 release and other releases as well. If you've never seen them before, I guarantee you'll love what you see, and I'll catch you in the next video.